Welcome to HYBIZ News. My name is Suresh Kochatil. Media has been an intense subject of debate in a post-COVID world. Newspapers, television, digital, radio, just about everyone has been impacted. Newspapers have slimmed down like somebody is losing weight. Television doesn't know where it's coming or going, and radio is just being there. One medium, of course, that has a future is digital, but even there is a matter subject to debate. To talk about this and all the more, we have with us Saye Sekhar, a journalist of repute with over 3 decades of experience in print journalism, and he still writes for all the leading national and international publications. Welcome to this show, Mr. Saye Sekhar.
Thank you.
Of course, you are an avid reader of newspapers. I can see that the copies are here. But I think these days, the kind of weight that a newspaper comes with literally is reduced. According to you, when you look at the entire media as a gamut, not just a newspaper, let us start with the entire media. How do you think in a post-COVID world, what will happen to the consumption of media in India specifically?
Actually, media has been very much interested in expanding, and media has always thought of publishing there, especially now I am talking about print. Media wanted to expand and grow exponentially with their circulation numbers skyrocketing rather. But situation has changed a lot, and after the advent of digital media, the print medium has definitely taken a beating. It's not as if the circulations are going up and readership is going up. I doubt if the per copy readership is as it was 10 years ago. It's not that, I suppose. I haven't actually checked what exactly is happening.
Actually, the English dailies are declining a bit. Yeah. The vernaculars are still staying where they are.
And what is said outside and what actually is there inside is, the story is different. It's not as if their claims are all true. It's not exactly like that, because they want to expand their reach and footprint. They want to enhance the high decibel campaign, enhance the campaign to a high decibel campaign. Yeah. But definitely post-COVID, print media will take a very, very severe beating. As it is, we have seen Deccan Chronicle is coming in 8 to 10 pages, not more than that. And the last month they have deposited a fixed small amount to every employee, irrespective of their rank. And Deccan Chronicle as a newspaper organization has been in dire straits, not because of COVID, but because of several other reasons for the last 3-4 years. And it has been in the news. And it was unfortunate. It is very unfortunate, because I worked in Deccan Chronicle. I like that paper very much. Deccan Chronicle identifies itself. Every Hyderabadi takes pride in identifying himself or herself with Deccan Chronicle. Even now, my brother's daughter, she reads Deccan Chronicle, that Hyderabad Chronicle, that supplement. So there is a lot of fanfare for the paper. And when I used to work, Deccan Chronicle used to be a hot cake. Like there was no television medium. So people used to love it and flocked for the paper. And it's there in every salon, it's there in every Irani chai cafe and everywhere. And circulation used to be a big number. Even now, until recently maybe, the number is very big. But now people are wary. Same is the story with the Times of India. Times of India has merged Hyderabad Times with the main section. Enadu, Hyderabad Mini Daily, for which I worked. I worked on that Hyderabad Mini Daily, Enadu Hyderabad. I was its in charge. Okay. I was handling one shift of Enadu Hyderabad Mini Daily. That is merged into the main paper. And a number of pages have been brought down.
Even I think the district editions have been scrapped.
That's what I am talking about. Enadu Hyderabad Mini Daily in Hyderabad and district editions in districts. They have all been merged into the main paper. And as a result, they are all pruning the staff also. Because the photo letter machine operators of Enadu were told to go. That's what the news that is doing rounds in the media circles. And then sub-editors are asked to equip themselves to make the page. This is the case in English media. Sub-editors all make the pages, and they have been making it for the last 15 years maybe. So it's not new in English media. But then Eenadu has actually done this, and Andhraprajyoti has merged the district edition with its main edition. So did Sakshi. And Andhraprajyoti and Sakshi hasn't retrenched anyone in this, but Andhraprajyoti did. And a lot of financial pressure, because procurement of newsprint is a major issue because of the lockdown. Transportation of newsprint from the manufacturing countries to India, and then from unloading and then distribution of newsprint. Even if we say that it is essential service, it's not being so. It's not being so. This is one. And then advertising. When there is no manufacturing, what do they advertise? And manufacturing has taken a severe beating. So it takes a long time for any manufacturing company or any company which offers, even the financial services that are offered by the banks, they need to be pruned, because the banks are really struggling with an acute financial crunch. So there is a problem, a financial problem. Print is taking a beating. That is the major problem. And print distribution, newspaper distribution, for 3-4 days it suffered in Hyderabad, but then again
I think there was this scare that newspapers carry the virus, but it has been proved since that it is not so the case. WHO has clarified. Newspapers like Sakshi, I was speaking to Mr. KRP Reddy, they showed that they were using sanitizer spray all over the newspaper. I think they are also been discovering new ways to get around this entire thing.
And news consumption has changed. The patterns of news consumption.
That is something that I want to bring you on, because you've been a journalist who's worked in the English edition, you worked in the Telugu editions of various newspapers. Now, there was a way, I remember when I started my journalistic career way back in the late 80s, news used to be in a different way. I remember the day Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated in Sri Perambadur. Our correspondent who was sitting in Sri Perambadur that day was speaking from an STD booth and telling us the news. There were the days when we had teleprinters in the office picking up the tickers from the PTI and UNI and all that. The world has changed since then. Today, people get the news on the phone.
Correct.
They don't even wait for you to give the news from, a newspaper. So when you talk of news collection, let us take this in two separate parts. The news collection part, let us look at that first, and then get into the news dissemination part. So let us look at the news collection part. How difficult is it today for a journalist, especially one who starts out as a reporter on the field? What is the role of a reporter today? How do people collect news?
Before answering to that question, that how newspapers, reporters' role has changed from that day to this day, I would like to speak a bit about news consumption. News consumption in terms of SSC results.
Oh, there was a time.
That was the time when, we were all very privileged. Someone, say our neighbor's friend has appeared for class 10th examination. And then their hall ticket number, and then they call our office. We used to collect that, and then see the number, and then we used to get the huge bunch. See the number and then tell them first class or second class or third class, or the number is in the withheld category or compartmental category, whatever it is. This is one. And as a reporter, I used to go to 10th class board, collect for the press conference. The education minister, not CD. I am not talking about CD days. I am talking about the days when they used to distribute physical, printed copies. We used to bring them and spread them on a newspaper for a newspaper size, and then take a photograph of it. The positive used to be printed as a newspaper, and those things used to be distributed as special supplements. The same plates used to be published again in the next day's newspaper. That is how news dissemination used to be. Then railway reservations. The reservation chart used to be cut at 7 p.m. and used to be sent to the office, the newspaper office, and we used to put the reservation availability, how many berths are there in chair car, how many are in third sleeper coach, how many are there in second AC. second AC, there was no third AC. So these things, and that whole chart used to appear in one page. For stations like Secunderabad and Vijayawada, 3/4 of the mini edition of Eenadu used to be of that side. That only
The readers used to look
forward to that. Next, movies. Which movie is released every Friday? It's a demand, it's a day of demand, and people want to know which movie is being screened in which theatre, because it is not a multiplex complex context. You know, we used to have about close to 100 theatres in Hyderabad, and the Regal, Kamal, Dilshad, Royal, Zamarud, Santosh, Sapna, so many, you know, those were the days when Mira 35, Mira 70, Liberty, and Skyline and Sterling. This was the interest for people. And then slowly we moved to collecting market prices. How much is bendakaya, vankaya, how much is brinjal, how much is bottle gourd, how much is ridge gourd. The per kg costs in Madannapet Mandi, in Dilshuk Nagar Mandi, Monda market. This is all news. And also again the commercial markets in Begum Bazaar, the tur dal, urad dal, oils. These things used to be news. Keep this aside. All these things are available now online. On the mobile phone, in the apps, you know what is the pricing. So that is one area which has taken a severe beating already. Another thing is now news. Now coming to news, you were talking about Rajiv Gandhi's murder assassination. On that day, I was working in Eenadu. I was in the office. I was already more than 2.5 years old journalist, and I was the head of City Edition at that time, and I was making that night's City Edition. Suddenly, people started running on the tables and going to the ticker. I was skeptical. What happened? And then I went. I also turned that side, and then people started screaming that Rajiv Gandhi has been assassinated. And PTI was giving a news: ZC, Rajiv Gandhi assassinated. ZC, flash, Rajiv Gandhi assassinated. Rajiv Gandhi assassinated in Sri Parambudur. Rajiv Gandhi assassinated by explosion of a bomb. By then, it was not known whether it is a belt bomb and all. No details.
No, I remember. That's exactly what a point. And I think the first time I was there, we had actually gone back home. I was in Times of India, Bangalore those days. And I'd gone back, and suddenly my general manager, whom I was dropping home that day on my scooter for a change because his car had got spoiled, he said suddenly when he reached home, he saw his wife standing outside, and he said, something has gone wrong, Suresh. Let's look at this. We turned back, we came to the office, and I remember that was the first time that the masthead was carried below the headlight. I think many newspapers did that day. But the world has changed a lot since then.
Yes, ever since the world has changed. Now something major happens. For example, yesterday there were 16 migrant laborers who were walking along the railway track and resting on the railway track, unfortunately were crushed by a goods train. And they were smashed into bits and pieces, and they lost their lives. And instantly the news is available on the mobile phones, on the television channel. So the information dissemination is happening at a breakneck speed. Naturally, people don't wait for the newspaper to come and read this news at that point in time.
That's a problem I'm asking, because I remember that time when Latur earthquake happened, and I did discuss this, I think, with one of the newspaper editors during another interview. It happened around 3 or 2:33 in the morning, and I remember one of our directors that time, Mr. Pradeep, was saying this, that there's a sphere of influence. Something happens in your neighborhood, you are interested. Something happens in Pakistan, you're not that interested. Something happens in Iran, 30,000 people killed in an earthquake, you're not really interested. But Latur earthquake, for the first time, I think, where television got an upper hand on the newspaper.
Because it happened early in the morning, and the newspaper comes only 36 hours after the incident occurred. So in fact, I went to Latur and Usmanabad for an international television channel. I did reporting. I was working for news time, and then I was taking a hiatus because I was on my way out to Deccan Chronicle. That's a transition period. So since I was doing nothing, I took up this private assignment. Somebody approached me and I took it up, and for an international television channel. That way I can claim to be one of the earliest TV journalists also. So that is how news has changed from television channel onward. Now the current channels, English and vernacular channels, they have to do a lot of talking. They are forced to do a lot of talking. In the process, they keep committing a lot of mistakes, and there is no other way but to engage the audience. So television quality is suffering, but then they are able to immediately give the news dissemination and news happening. Between these two, the time lapse would be maybe about a minute or a minute and a half or two.
So let's look at the Latur earthquake in a perspective. I'm in touch with it, should not happen again. But a similar thing happens. As you rightly said about this migrant workers being crushed under the train, which happened at late in the night. Today, and we saw other day at HYBIZ also the accident when the chemical leaked out of the LG polymers factory. I think most of the footage was captured on mobile phones of people who were around the place. There was no television channel at that point in time, and they didn't reach the venue. But I guess today a person with a mobile phone is also a journalist. Do you agree?
Yeah, in fact, I was working, I don't know whether I can say this, but I was working for TV5. Not in the mainstream television channel, but the TV5 management wanted to bring out an application, an app, just on the lines of this InShots and way ahead of them. At least 3 years before that, TV5 management has thought of it. And we worked on it, but so for some strange reasons the plan conked off. But the programming was done, everything was done. At that time, TV5's managing director, Mr. Ravindranath, he came up with an idea called iReporter.
Okay.
And this was what we actually wanted to make it the USP of the application. And iReporter is like I am going on the road and I see something, immediately I will shoot that and upload it to the TV5, and we used to call it News 5 application, and it used to get aired.
Okay.
This was the plan. Only thing is we used to have a filter of a minute or two, that's all. But immediately, as soon as possible, we want to air the news. This was the concept. Now it has come to everyone. People are shooting it and giving it to TV channels, putting it in the social media, and TV channels are picking it from YouTube and Facebook and everywhere. As you rightly said, this Visakhapatnam incident, it is the people who are the reporters, not journalists who reached there. So news industry has, I don't say it's lost its relevance, but then has taken a beating, serious beating, including digital media.
So let's take you. You are a person who, like me, like many of our age group, who grew from a generation where journalism reporting was considered very, very holy. Okay, that you were put on a pedestal there, up there. Even a sub-editor had its importance. But today, you see people coming from non-journalistic backgrounds, people doing stories who have nothing to do with journalism, but then they get the TRPs, they get the mileage. Do you think the world of experts has come into the journalistic field today? We have more people who are financial experts, more people who are management experts, more people who are chemical and pharmaceutical experts. Do you think the good old days of general journalism is gone?
I don't say that, because journalists are also generalists. Then there are specialists, as you rightly mentioned, and some people who are trained, qualified in finance are coming into financial journalism. Some who are qualified in pharmacy, they are coming into pharma journalism. Some doctors are straying into medical journalism. Some lawyers, as it is, lawyers are doing the legal reporting. While these things being what they are, I don't say generalist journalist has lost his relevance, but the number of people hired for generalist job, it has come down. It has come down because people are reporting. and the ultimate goal is to give out the information. How they are packaged. A qualified journalist who is trained in university in a specific classroom environment and properly trained to what is that inverted pyramid lead and then structured so what paragraph, all these things. This is not there. This is missing. Everybody is talking whatever they want.
So and it's like tell me now.
Exactly. And second thing, people stopped reading.
Nobody has time for 8 column articles.
Exactly. And people are more interested in 140 character journalism, Twitter. They are not interested in reading a lot of stuff.
To do with the competition, I remember when my editors in Times of India, Hyderabad used to say this, we are competing against the 2-minute clip of a television channel. Yeah. I think that's what is happening today, isn't it?
Yeah, because when it comes to print journalism or even web journalism, if it is written news, 16 people died when a train ran them over is fine. But then how exactly it happened, when did it happen? Maybe 3 people who were sleeping on the other side, they were shooting it. Because suddenly it happened and they got up, and maybe if they had time they could have shot that, and that would have captured more eyeballs than the written word. So visual journalism has overtaken this, and for it, if it has to be aired in a TV channel, it has to come to the channel and then go to ingest and then put it in the screen and telecast it. This process also has gone now. As and when it happens, immediately it is being aired.
So Mr. Sekhar, this one thing is very, very clear, is that the post-COVID world is going to be totally different. It is not going to be what we had before. So when you look at media in general, I'm not getting into speak of, we did discuss newspapers, television, everything, but now we are looking at a world where digital is going to be everything. And how different is that going to be? Because today's millennials don't consume printed news. They don't watch television. They watch a Netflix or an Amazon Prime or whatever it is. News per se is not their cup of tea. In such a scenario, what is the challenge for news organizations to deliver that news to this generation, the millennials?
News per se is not the cup of tea is a wrong statement in my view, because the lockdown, it's lifting, what are the relaxations, what are the conditions, all these things is news.
Okay.
And now they are more wary about these things. It's not shown in a Netflix series. Correct. So news is very important. But as you rightly said, they are not going to wait for a newspaper in print form to come, in a physical form to come, or they are not going to go to their mobile phone, open the television channel and watch what's being aired, unless it is a live telecast of the Prime Minister's speech or some event. So news is going to be consumed on the apps or on the mobile phones through websites, and millennials want to rely upon the newspapers, because newspaper organizations with repute to run these websites, not some chutku fellows coming and launching a website and giving their fake news, because the spread of fake news has created a lot of problem, especially during this COVID period. Some containment zone has some 30-40 people, which is true, which is not true. Somebody who is sneezing on the road is also considered as a COVID patient. So this spread of wrong news and fake news has become rampant, and this became a problem. So even the millennials will depend on reputable news organizations which have time-tested experience, and they have their news has that reliability, and people want to rely upon only such news, and the delivery model has to change.
Yeah, that's where I'm coming from, the delivery model, because today's generation may be on a Snapchat, or they may be on a Telegram, or they may not necessarily be on a WhatsApp. It is how you push that message into a conversation like that. Yeah. That I think is going to be the major challenge for news organizations.
So in bits and pieces, bits and bytes rather, they have to disseminate the news and give it should be very authentic. Authenticity is now a scarce commodity as far as news being disseminated by the new organizations are concerned. The older organizations still they have their verification mechanism. Mr. N. Ram used to frequently say that newspaper news without verification, without scope for verification is a problem.
Okay. Now, the question that comes up there on beyond is, you are a journalist still, you still write, you still report. Now, when you talk about all this, what you talked of just now, would you be making course corrections in your way that you report news from, say, 15 days from now?
I think I did actually. I am the earliest mover into digital journalism. As soon as I quit the Hindu, I set up AndhraBusiness.com. At the same time as HYBIZ.com was launched. We actually wanted to make it a JV, but somehow it did not work out. But because I was a content man, and Raj was the ad man, we wanted to amalgamate, and Raj's idea of visual journalism clicked. See, HYBIZ.TV is sustained. It has celebrated its
a decade old.
Exactly, it has celebrated its 10th anniversary. So, I actually morphed myself and customized myself to the needs of digital market.
Put yourself in the shoes of a 16-year-old.
Exactly.
And thought what would he or she would like to listen to it.
Yes. So, ticker news and Twitter news. This is the size of the news people want. You give out 10 tweets. 10 different the scrolls that appear on the television channel. This is important. People can read it and understand what exactly it is, or someone say that in the Telegram, Snapchat. Even they are the media for disseminating this kind of news.
Saye Sekhar, thank you very much for speaking to us. I know this conversation can go for hours together. Yeah. It can be over numerous cups of coffee, but it is wonderful understanding from you the way media is changing in a post-COVID scenario. We used to traditionally report news, produce news in terms of even the layouts have all changed today. People are more attuned to graphics. They don't have time to listen to 8-column, read 8-column articles. And I think that you brought out very wonderfully well in your submissions. And thank you very much for all this.
Thank you.
Inputs,
thank you.
And it's been a pleasure speaking to you.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Saye Sekhar, bringing forth his 32 years of experience in the media field, telling you and me what a post-COVID media world will look like. Thank you for watching.